Russia breaking news. Clinton criticizes Tucker Carlson before Putin interview. A useful idiot, his idiocy serves a purpose, and the days leading up to conservative broadcaster Tucker Carlson's highly anticipated interview with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Hillary Clinton branded him a useful idiot on Wednesday. The former Secretary of State told MSNBC anchor Alex Wagner, "He's what's called a useful idiot," in response to a question regarding the impending meeting between Putin and Carlson. When asked about the translations of Russian media, Clinton asserted that they mocked him. "I mean, he's adorable, you know?" Earlier this week, Carlson took to X to reveal that he will be conducting an interview with the Russian leader in Moscow, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022. This will be the first interview between Putin and an American journalist. The former Fox News anchor Carlson has been vocal in his criticism of both Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and the U.S.-authorized military aid to Kyiv, amounting to billions of euros. In an Instagram post, Carlson announced that his website will air his interview with Putin on Thursday. After Carlson's interview with the Russian president airs, Clinton stated she wouldn't be surprised if he lands a new job. Clinton made the comment, "You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he emerges with a contract with a Russian outlet because he is a useful idiot," referring to after he was sacked from numerous American sites. He makes assertions that do not hold water. In his defense of Ukraine, he repeats Vladimir Putin's false claims. "I fail to understand Putin's rationale for refusing to grant him an interview." In a new report analyzing the devastation wrought on the Ukrainian city of Mariupol, Human Rights Watch, HRW, said that Russian President Vladimir Putin should face a war crimes inquiry for Moscow's brutal assault on the city, which left thousands of people dead, destroyed countless buildings, and prompted a widespread campaign of Russification. The UN watchdog determined that throughout Russia's 2022 siege of the city, civilian buildings and infrastructure were repeatedly targeted and destroyed, seemingly in breach of international humanitarian law. It used satellite images, photographs, and videos of the city's cemeteries to arrive at an estimate of about 8,000 casualties caused by the conflict. However, it did note that this figure is cautious. Russian authorities have made efforts to eradicate Ukrainian culture from the city since its capture, according to a 215-page report based on research done over nearly 2 years in collaboration with Ukrainian human rights group Truth Hounds. The report details how the city has limited the movements of Ukrainians and imposed a pro-Kremlin narrative in its public spaces and schools. After Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, its forces quickly surrounded Mariupol and began a bombardment that would last months, eventually breaking down the Ukrainian military's resistance. Located in southeastern Ukraine on the Sea of Azov, the city was the site of some of the war's worst battles, according to Ida Sawyer, the director of HRW's Crisis and Conflict Division. When speaking to CNN, she described the period as hell on earth because of the brutal and catastrophic assault. "We view this as a particularly dark chapter in Russia's invasion of Ukraine," she stated. "Our hope is that this project will contribute to the cause of justice." Hundreds of high-rise apartment complexes and civilian infrastructure, including hospitals, schools, and universities, were among the thousands of buildings that the investigation documented as having been destroyed by Russian forces. Moreover, it named 17 particular military and National Guard groups stationed in the city during the height of the fighting in March and April of 2022, or units affiliated with Russia, and senior persons it claimed could be responsible for the crimes, according to Sawyer. Higher-ranking officials all the way up to President Putin were cognizant of what was happening in Mariupol and seemed to have had a hand in organizing and preparing the attack on the city. Putin is already wanted by the International Criminal Court, ICC, on charges of war crimes. The ICC claims that Putin is personally responsible for the illegal removal of children from Ukraine and their deportation to Russia. According to the HRW study, he and other high-ranking commanders should be held accountable for any war crimes committed during the Mariupol operation, including unlawful assaults and the possible arbitrary blocking of humanitarian aid and evacuations. Statement from Truth Hound's executive director, Roman Avramenko, read, We and our partners have spent nearly 2 years uncovering the truth about the horrific crimes committed by Russian forces in Mariupol. Despite the challenges of investigating war crimes in areas made inaccessible by Russian occupation, Avraменko said, due to the possibility of mass burials or the fact that many bodies were buried under rubble, the report warned that the actual death toll could be far higher than the estimated 8,000. In order to arrive at their findings, the authors reviewed local data, satellite photos, and photographs, and interviewed 240 people, most of whom were displaced Mariupol residents. Moscow considered capturing Mariupol a top priority in the early months of the conflict, and the city came to symbolize Ukrainian resistance as it endured constant Russian attacks. A small contingent of Ukrainian forces remained at the Azovstal steel mill, where 1,000 innocent people had sought refuge, even though the majority of the city had already fallen. As the facility's food and water supplies ran low and hundreds of injured were left without access to adequate medical treatment, Ukrainian police painted a gloomy picture of life within. Wars raged for control of the city despite widespread fears that Moscow's soldiers may try to hide evidence of war crimes there. At that time, the city council claimed that Russian soldiers were attempting to cover up atrocities by disposing of dead in mobile crematoria and by locating witnesses to such atrocities through filtration camps. CNN covered Russia's use of filtration camps outside the city, but they were unable to verify the accusations. Many of these accusations, like as the use of filtration camps to conceal crimes and the targeting of people in Mariupol, were refuted by the Kremlin. Authorities backed by Russia have launched a massive Russification effort since the city fell, trying to force the Kremlin's version of events in history on the remaining population. According to the HRW assessment, by 2025, Russian authorities intend to rebuild the city in the style of Moscow, and by 2035, additional development would have taken place. Their actions were already being criticized for stripping away markers of Ukrainian identity, enforcing a Russian school curriculum, and requiring residents to obtain Russian passports in order to apply for certain jobs, be eligible for social welfare payments, and benefit from public health care. A new curriculum that labels Ukraine as a neo-Nazi state has swiftly replaced the old one. According to the article, citizens who are known to have pro-Ukrainian sympathies are being monitored and may encounter obstacles when attempting to leave the city. The cultural landscape of the city is being transformed, according to Sawyer, after being driven back by Kiev soldiers during their initial, full-scale assault into the center of Ukraine. Russian forces made a long but major breakthrough with the conquest of Mariupol. As a result, Russia shifted its attention to the eastern and southern regions of Ukraine, where the battle had become more of a stalemate and where both sides were finding it difficult to make territorial advances.